What's happening, good people? Feel like it's been a minute. It's probably been about 10 days or so. It's good to hang out with you guys on a Saturday. I have a couple things I wanted to snap and trap about, give you guys a couple updates, kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. Saw MJ was around. What's happening? She said she wasn't going to be in the chat, and that's okay. I'm happy for you guys hanging out. So let me give you a quick update. The EcoFlow continues to disappoint in the watt-hour capacity. And I reached out to them because I haven't finished the video, but I was talking to Setite, and he was like, I thought you figured out that thing sucked a while ago. And I was like, knowing me, you're probably right, because I don't do these things linearly sometimes. Sometimes it goes over multiple days because testing sometimes interferes with me just using solar, and I'm all about the solar. That's the first priority, first and foremost. So it's kind of been sitting around, and the bullbat has been there. But I think I finished my testing, and it was getting like maybe like 60% of the watt hour capacity. So I reached out to the same support thread, and she was like, yeah, I'm gonna send you the labels and you can return them and we'll refund your money. Now, I'm gonna be honest. The EcoFlow river itself was already like, I already got refunded for that. I think I remember that because it had an issue early on and I had to exchange it for this one that I have now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, hey, I just want to send the battery back because there was coins spent on the battery. It was on sale. It was probably like $199 or $210 or something like that. So I'm just going to ask for that, and then I'll keep the joint. Now, I don't know if I'm ready to just have a 200 and some odd watt hour device in the EcoFlow. I really like having the extra capacity, even though I never really got it. But I like having the bigger device, and I really like having the lights on it that show the charging and discharging. The base model doesn't do that, so that's kind of disappointing. So that's all I'll have now. I was thinking about kind of doing a video because the video that took form is just me testing. It's just like, man, this thing is not getting a watt hour capacity, let's test kind of thing. But I thought about making a video just about like this particular EcoFlow era might be ending for me. It's the only EcoFlow device I have right now. And sending the battery back, the dip itself becomes even less useful to me because it's only 200 and some odd watt hours. And what I'm doing is I'm not shifting intentionally, but as the power stations get bigger, I don't have to manage them so much. And even with having the extra batteries from Dr. Prepare, I still have to manage that, but they're there to supplement 2 kilowatt devices. So it's like 256, man. If I had that by my TV, I'd have to stay on top of that because that thing is going to fill up like that. So I asked her, would I be able to just send them back and exchange them for a Pro? Because the MSRP for the base and the battery is about the same price as the Pro, let alone how much Costco charges for it. They charge about $300 for the device, sometimes on sale for $250. I think it was as cheap as $199 over Prime Day, but I could be wrong. I think it was $199 for Prime Day. But $300 plus the battery, $200, that's $500. They were selling their Pro for $530. So they were like, yeah, we don't have an exchange program. We can refund you, and then you could just take that money and buy whatever you want. But because the first device is not really, I don't think they would refund me again. I don't even necessarily know if I want them to try to refund me again. That feels like a kind of shaky integrity thing, like double dipping. So yeah, it kind of sucks. It sucks. Let me see what y'all snapping and trapping about. What's up, Sleeper? Siobhan, what's happening? Ingidi, good to see you. I'm saying your name right. I feel like I asked you that a long time ago, and you said I was right. So let me see if I'm right again. Thunder, what's happening? Cat Eye, Siobhan, Randy. Randy, congratulations on winning the thing from Jason. I thought that was really cool that you won something from that. I feel like Lit No Regrets also won a device from Jason. So that was cool to see people in both of our communities being able to reap the benefits of being a part of the community. So that was cool. What's up, Nathan? Less stuff, more freedom. What's happening? I'm pulling over soon. I'm on the road, but I got to check out this live chat. I appreciate you hanging out, man. Keep it simple. What's happening, man? Good to see you. Let me see if Giddy responded. Good to see you too. Mita? Equally wrong. I wonder how the EcoFlow 4K AC is handling all this record-setting heat everyone is experiencing. I imagine with it being a smaller air conditioner, it's probably not handling it well, or you have to use it in a really small space. But I mean, typically any cooling is better than none in most moderate environments. I don't know about, you guys out west experiencing that heat. I'm not sure what that would do. It probably won't do anything. You would like to know more about the Renogy black solar panel. Let me tell you something. Talk about that real quick. For a summertime ground deploy, I'm really impressed with that dip because it's really flexible. And I like that. I feel like when I grab it, I don't have to be gentle with it. In winter, that's going to be a little more interesting because the sun is overhead for most of the summer, but in winter, it's largely just across the horizon. So I won't be able to angle it. I won't bother with angling it. I don't care. It's a flexible panel. I have rigid panels for that. Hey guys, don't start getting loud. Oh my gosh. One second. Saya, are you okay? What's the problem? Okay, you will be okay. All right. I had a video about the Black Label casual video. I think I sent it to Wayne, but I don't know where it is. But I think I saw as high because somebody else commented on the video asking me how well that black panel was producing or what's the highest I saw. I'm pretty sure the highest I saw is in like the 90s, but I haven't seen that regularly. Even on a super bright day, it being flat on the ground, I usually see about 70. I don't monitor it, to be honest. It's bonus power. I actually have my EcoFlow. Hold on one second. Guys, the next time you get loud, you're going upstairs. Ivan, do you understand me? Jojo, do you understand me? Saya, do you understand me? So yeah, it's just bonus power. I don't monitor it. I don't monitor it super closely. It was 150 when I got it. It's still 150, which is shocking to me on Amazon. Renogy sells it for like 180. I think it's on sale now, and it may be like 200 normal price. 150 for a super flexible panel is actually pretty cool. I don't have an issue with that. I think it's a particular style of device that's going to appeal to a particular person. I like the fact that it is not as fragile. I have the other Renogy 100-watt flat panel. I got that one for like $110, and that one is delicate, even though it's flexible. It's delicate. Let's see. Hey, thanks for answering my questions during Amazon Prime. I decided to purchase the EcoFlow Delta 1000. Love it so far. Yeah, as picky as we can be, I am super picky. For the most part, any device you get, and when I say that loosely, I mean like from the big three and maybe like the people right under them, the budget friendly ones, you'll be happy with it. I mean, you could nitpick and choose. Hopefully, the price lines up with your pickiness, but it's power when you need it. It's power when you don't need it. It's fine. That's why I like when I'm doing these videos serve the purpose of just being a look at the device so that someone can watch and get an overview and an impression of the features and how they practically apply with like using them in real life. Because it's power. Man, I had that Bowden's 166. I had that Rock Pals, and they have their quirks galore. The Bowden's has the 5 bar dip. I still have it. I still use it. The Rock Pals I gave away to a viewer, but it didn't show watts coming in. But it still gives you power. Electricity is that's the magic. The features are great. Yeah, we want to be informed. We want to make good decisions. But sometimes you see a device and it's on sale and you may wonder about it. That's why I don't necessarily like nitpick about which devices I'll do videos on. I am picky because I don't want to do a video on garbage, but some of those off the beaten path power stations, when companies reach out to me, you know what I mean? I'm kind of open to doing them because you may see it during an Amazon Prime day and it's $110. And it's like, sure, it's not a Jackery and EcoFlow or a Bluetti, but it's $110. So you could easily grab that, use it, or gift it to somebody who doesn't care about the particulars. So yeah, it's all good. I'm glad you made some purchase, and I'm glad you're happy with it, Nathan. Electric bill is getting out of hand. I'm thinking about going full solar. Sheesh. We don't have too much happening here with that in PA, but man, I can't imagine what that feels like to have, your electricity rise significantly. I don't really know how we're going to handle that if it happens. I mean, we have resources and stuff like that to make it kind of work, but it's not lined up in the way that I would like it. And I don't want to deal with the reality of that because my wonderful wife, she just, she just does what she wants to do. She's mindful, but I try not to inconvenience her too much as it relates to this stuff. I try to kind of put things in place where she doesn't have to worry about it. That's why bigger power stations are so important for me. I haven't been here in a while. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. I caught that. Hey, buddy. So the fourth test on the EB small power station is okay so far. So Less Stuff, More Freedom is talking about, don't come in here with that. Kiddos, man. Hey, babe. I feel like it might be time for a nap. Because he seems to be having a hard time. What did I want to catch? Oh, the EB3A. So I did buy an EB3A. I did for the culture. I have a video I'm gonna drop on Patreon soon. I don't think it's gonna come to main YouTube. Where I was kind of talking about how I could see the EB3A kind of fitting into my system. And it's funny that I find myself in a situation where I have to deal with the EcoFlow not necessarily being the power station in my main zone, which I'm not super heartbroken about, but I don't have a LifePo equivalent to put there that I feel like I can trust and I can rely upon. We talked about this stuff before, but I have some 500 watt hour devices that are LifePo, but they are quirky too quirky for me to have in one of my main zones where, we watch TV and the internet runs. To give you an example, I have the big blue. The big blue screen can't be trusted. I have oops, the Cheryl Swoops, the Whoppers. I have that one, but the fan is on all the time. So I really can't. What else? Those are the only like suitable devices. I have the EB70 right here, and the EB70 would be a good fit. But once it gets over 90 watts of solar power into it, the fan blares up. And it's not super loud, but it's loud enough to where I wouldn't want it behind my TV. The EcoFlow was nice. The EB3A would be, I think it's going to be a good companion to have over there. I may have the EB3A over there because it is LiPo, the EcoFlow is not. And I may pair it up with the Energizer P320 because then I can easily power dump from the EB3A's 100 watt non-bidirectional port directly into the 100 watt bidirectional port of the Energizer. So that's actually a good pairing for about 550 watt hours of joint. They're still going to get full right there throughout the day because that 200 watt panel is going to produce at least 750 watt hours, typically about 1,000 across the course of the day. So it's not a perfect pairing, but I'll make it work. I'll make it work. My electric went up from 14 cents to 20 cents a kilowatt. Oh man, yeah. And that must be nice because then your investment feels better. You know what I mean? Having that stuff around 14 cents, you kind of recoup a little bit faster. They pennies, but they're your pennies. You know what I mean? It sounds like something breaking and Dan has to go check. Question: should I buy another AC 200p or the extension battery pack? I'm a proponent of more devices if you're going to be choosing between more devices in the battery pack. Unless you have a specific need where you need to have that dip in one spot and you need to be able to, without equivocation, be able to run whatever you're going to run with that longer. And you don't want the inconvenience of having to switch or charge one with the other with AC or charge one with the other at a slower DC rate, which kind of doesn't matter because a lot of these power stations now, they're as inefficient on DC as they are in AC. And my understanding is because those battery packs in there are like 36 volts, 48 volts. So the DC port has to have like a buck in there to drop it down. And whenever you have to change voltages, that uses power. I'm seeing a lot of tests from like Jason Oy and Hobotech. I don't watch his videos as much lately to the point where YouTube stopped putting them in my feed. I think that's funny. A lot of these things are as inefficient or as efficient on the DC as they are the AC. You'll get like 83% on the AC and you'll get like 85% on the DC, or the other way around. It'll be like 80% on the DC and then 85% on the AC. It's like weird. So that old logic of DC is more efficient as it relates to power stations is becoming less and less true as the products come out and get bigger and more powerful and the packs voltages are going up. But to reiterate, I'm typically a 2 devices over a device and a battery because you're just spending $300 or so, $400 or so to get the inverter, the USB ports, the MPPT charge controller. You can power multiple zones with it. You have one in the front of your house, one in the back of your house, one upstairs, one downstairs. So I think that's more flexible than having one and then running extension cords to every zone of your house or everything. So I hope I've covered that pretty good. I think I have. You guys cutting the cable cord and the utility companies notice and heading you guys off the utility companies saying, not us, not today. Yeah, that's wild. They gonna figure it out. They're trying to charge people for having solar. And I don't want to get into that too deeply because I can kind of see the merit, but I think it's like I guess a red herring in how they're doing it. They're using a good reason to just justify what they've been doing for years that hasn't been fair. I don't want to go there. I mean, I can, but I don't want to. LVP, what's happening, brother? I'm glad you guys came out. I started to text you, but I feel like, man, y'all be busy. I know a text ain't that much of a interruption to um, productivity, but I was like, Saturday, they probably out there getting it. I got the Tenergy based off your recommendation. Tenergy. That's the power station, right? Yeah. And then Tamank is the people who make the MC4 cables. We'll talk about MC4 cables soon. Hey, 2%. Been a while. I hope everything is okay. I hope all is well. Nap time. Yep, all day. Question: Flashfish 199, 300 watt Amazon. Yeah, I'm gonna say no on that one. Not for 199. You got the EB3A for 210. So I'm not going Flashfish for $200. It's gonna be tough for these kind of off-brand companies to keep charging the prices that they've been charging. When you have things like the EcoFlow going on sale for 199, the Jackery going on sale for 210, the EB3A going on sale for 210. I don't know if that's going to happen too many more times. I don't feel like that device should be priced at 250. It has a lot of features in it. EcoFlow is notorious for they were notorious for charging a lot of money for their devices. I think the EcoFlow River broke from that, but they're still kind of like they're milking that whole cost, whatever. So I don't know. I'm not going to do a flash fish for $200. Not today, Jason. You wish you could take a nap? Of course you can. Naps are whack, man. Who wants a nap? I know I'm going to get some disagreements there. I know people love naps. My wife does. I don't. I only take one if I have to. I never was told to nap. Just go stand in the corner. For my dad, I'd be in the corner still. Well, he's just tired. Napping is not a punishment. He just needs rest. That's all. I don't know what that means. Generac 1000. What about it? It's gonna be okay. You're gonna miss it when they're grown. I don't know. People say that. They also say it goes by fast. So we're enjoying it. I don't know. Do you think you'll miss this stuff when they get older, babe? Do you think you'll miss this era of parenting when they get older? Yeah, I feel like we kind of just exist in the space that we are.
I appreciate and value it for what it is. I treasure it.
Yeah, we treasure all of it. It's all dope. Question: I got a 280 panel roof style for super cheap. It didn't work right away on my Tenergy as it shouldn't. Does it not work because it's so big, or do I need to play with it more? You are playing a very dangerous game with voltages. A 280 watt panel that's for a house is definitely more voltage than that little power station can take, and that's the problem. One would hope and deduce that power station has overvolt or over whatever protection. So that's why I didn't just blow up. And when I say blow up, I don't mean actually, but just stop working. So yeah, don't mess with that anymore, man. Or lady. Yeah, that's the problem. You got to look at your voltage open circuit, and it will undoubtedly be like 36 or 32, 37 or more. And that's more than those power stations can take in. They're typically about 12 to 28, 12 to 30, which is considered the 12 volt range. It's gonna be okay. What's up, Van? Everything? Good to see you, man. Greetings, Val. What's happening? Let's see. Yeah, I expect rising electricity costs in the coming months. I'm hopeful that I can effectively use a 300 amp hour ampere time battery to reduce my air conditioning and cooking bill in the future. 3,000, of course, yeah. I wouldn't hope. That should help a lot. What kind of inverter did you say you were gonna hook up to that bat and everything? Our electricity will increase 7 to 11 cents per kilowatt hour. Man. 9BB solar panels. Do you have one of the Boujar V solar panels? It's supposed to be better. That's what they say. I do. I actually wanted to talk about that. I have a 180 9BB, but it's a 180 compared to my 190s. It puts out about the same power. They're actually supposed to be sending me a 200. I have to like sign their contract, which brings up another point. They're supposed to be sending me a 200 watt panel to test, and I think the guy's going to try and send me a charge controller, but the charge controllers are not cheap, so I don't know if that's going to fly. He wanted to send me a PWM. But what I needed more than a PWM charge controller is I needed the Boujar V MC4 connector kit. I have a panel I need to fix, and then I could also start learning about. Man, I have so much stuff to talk to you guys about. I could start learning about how to, crimp and cut MC4 cables. So, I'm put a pin in that. Yeah, but the 9BBs are supposed to be, they have more bus bars in them. So they have 9 instead of 5. My understanding of that, I try to get some understanding of it over the last few days. My understanding is that it makes them a little more efficient, and some weird stuff that doesn't really make sense to me. It's something about how you can connect the cells together, and there's more, I don't know. And maybe heat has something to do with heat dissipation. Has something to do with it too. I'm still kind of researching. Tenergy makes very high quality rechargeable nickel metal hydride batteries. Okay, cool. I converted my electric stove to propane. Ah, interesting. That's an interesting thing to endeavor to do. Let's sit here for a second. Converted the stove to propane. I only came across one video that tried their best to make sense of the cost of electricity versus the cost of solar versus the cost of propane over the course of like 2 years. I have that video in my solar. It's like an unlisted playlist. I'll try and post it after the live is over. I have that video in my solar playlist. But it seems like, to me, nothing really beats electricity in cost. Now, I don't know. I hope people are making like informed decisions about this stuff, but I don't know how to compare them, and I haven't found anybody who does it. It's like this idea of, you think about solar. Solar is convenient for people who are RVing and stuff because you don't have access to power. But power is so freaking cheap. It's cents per 1,000 watts of power. It's like, even if it's 20 cents per 1,000, that's a lot of power for a few pennies, a few coins. Now it going up, we have to adjust to that because that makes our bill cost more. But I don't know how much propane costs, and then you have to have it. I don't know how to equate it. If somebody has a video, if somebody has seen a video talking about the idea of what I think they call it LP, propane versus what's the other one? I guess just gas in general being sent to your home. I still don't think it's competitive with electricity. He was also talking about gasoline as well. That's another thing I was curious about, gasoline versus the cost of electricity. But gasoline is expensive compared to it, right? I don't know. I've been trying to research it over the years, but I've come up empty. The Tenergy has been working really well. I use it for small things, but I want to get more and expand. So you only have the Tenergy? Is that Mita? I opted to get the Go Labs over the Tenergy because the Go Labs had like the 60-watt bi-directional, and I think it had a 30-watt as well, USB-C, and something coming over.
Mm-hmm.
Come on over. Say hello to the people.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Dell was doing something
Happy Saturday.
on a shelf, and she asked me for a power station to run a fan. I had a little proud moment, like, oh
So you
man.
gonna talk about my leveling?
No, anybody got time for that.
I sure did. I asked for a power station. There wasn't no quick socket. I didn't feel like getting the extension cord. I was just like, I could use a power station. He had to tell me what to do, but you know.
Now, as much as we talked about this Generac and your panels, do you really need me to make a video about that? We talk on Instagram all the time about this situation. I feel like you should be good to go now, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. I tell you, dollar for dollar, I know it's not lithium iron phosphate. I personally don't care because if you figure out the possible charging times and how many times the average person uses it, yeah, that's fair. A lot of people, if you don't use your power stations every day, then 500 cycles is fine. You know what I mean? That'll last you a good while. I hammer my stuff. I use these power stations every day. Even lithium ion. This EcoFlow has been in rotation every day, outside of the times when I took it out for testing. Saw your battery setup on Instagram. Really cool. I want to talk about that too. I was joking with.
Long list, huh?
Yeah, I do. I ain't even get to it yet. I mean, I talked about it some things here and there. I was talking to both Setite and Wayne about how it's like my new favorite power station, the battery. Let me just, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, jeez. My gosh. So this is the battery. I have it's not light. I have a 12-volt receptacle on it. It is wired into the
Okay, go put it back.
bolts, and I could plug like a little USB adapter cable. What's this? We talked about this before. I could plug this right into there and then get my 60 watts, 100 watts, 45 watts, or whatever. But the power station aspect of it, you may, if you guys are OGs, you may remember some time ago I bought this Best Tech with the intentions of testing its efficiency compared to power station. And I have come to the conclusion that there's no way this would be as efficient. I actually kind of casually tested it, but this is the Best Tech one. It's a pure sine wave inverter. It was recommended to me and a lot of people by Hobotech. It wasn't recommended to me personally. I don't talk to Hobotech personally. It was like a way to charge up your power station in the car faster. So you would use this in your car to charge like the Jackery or whatever at the higher AC joint than the slower 12-volt joint. Or in another situation was a power station that couldn't charge from 12-volt. You could use this like the EB120, 150, 240. You could use something like this to charge it up. What?
Okay.
Little fan.
You got a new one?
Mm-hmm. I gotta talk about that too. Cycling tours Antigua. Yeah, it's been a while. I've been seeing you on Instagram. Oh man, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, the value there is I post more casual videos that don't really have a space, in my opinion, on YouTube. So it'll be like me just kind of showing pictures of setups, things that have come in the mail. I'll do like casual walkarounds and show whatever. Like I have one I need to put out soon on Instagram of me using that portable monitor and kind of saying like I don't suggest this stuff to y'all because I just want it for free and stuff like that. I actually use this stuff. Instagram is popping. Y'all should follow me there. askivesolar. The Delta EcoFlow Max 2000, best power station made to this day, penny for penny. Okay. Those EcoFlows have their place, but not having LFP or lithium iron phosphate, how I'm going to use it, because it will get used every single day, it's not appealing to me. Now, it's not unappealing because I'm still going to use it. I'm just going to get to 80% quicker than I would with lithium iron phosphate. So it's not that I'm anti EcoFlow. I own one. You know what I mean? It's like I would buy the EcoFlow River Pro if I was in a situation where they could refund me the total amount, but we already talked about that. So I'm not anti, but me being like really value oriented and really like heavy usage on these devices, I'm going to use it every day. So what you pondering back there on the Ponderosa? What do I need to get out of your way?
Yeah. I don't know, just listening and
Being bored and
being bored. Watching the baby with her dry erase marker, making sure she stayed on the whiteboard.
oh, this is the reason why I talked about this battery and the adapter and the inverter being like one of my favorite kind of power stations. I don't use them a whole lot because I still kind of treat them as reserve battery power for like in the case of not emergencies, but low solar output days. But essentially, it's a 1200 watt power station, a watt hour power station with a 300 watt inverter. I can't beat that on my top floor because nothing up here beats that. So if I had to run my internet from one or run my computer setup from one, I know that I won't run into any like limitations of power because that battery is huge. It's 1200 freaking watt hours. And I really like that. I feel very secure. I almost feel spoiled to have one, considering that that thing costs $370. Why are you making so much noise, fam? Huh? Yeah, get back to drawing. What you doing, mama? She might be our performer. We'll see. So the biggest one I have up here right now is my EB70, and it's 700 watt hours. Everything else is kind of like 300, 500, 500, 500, 300, 300, 250, 268. You know what I mean? So it's like 1200. I find I take kind of solace in that. Oh, that's Cow Dog Connoisseur. She asked me to give you a hug for her. She ain't in here. That's Instagram. But thank you for the hug. You know, I'm into it.
For you to give to her.
What? I miss my children being little. I want to change them back to that young age. I'm loving my grandbaby so much. Oh, nice. Thank you. You're welcome. Hey, Darlene. What's happening? I thought I was getting now, but I have to rethink the entire. I thought I was getting a good deal, but I have to rethink the entire thing. The Tenergy? Oh no, that panel? Is that what you're talking about, Mita? That panel was a good deal. You just can't use it on that Tenergy. That was a pretty good deal. Used large panels are a good look. I was actually just watching Bean Energy's video. I wanted to try and share his video, but for some reason I couldn't share the short like I normally would be able to with videos or something like that. It was really weird. I don't share a whole lot of videos, but I wanted to share his. Almost lost electricity. It's been kind of blinking here and there. What was I saying? I was talking about panels. I mentioned Bean. Bean has a bunch of. He's in like the Dallas, whatever kind of area. Go check out his channel, Bean Energy. BEENE space energy. He sells panels down in the Dallas area. I think it's like northern Dallas, down in the Texas area. It's like northern Texas, whatever. He has pretty good deals on it. It's like his business that he does, by the way. Question: EV120 or EV70S? Let me revisit that one. Can get the EB3A for Canadian 319, but the capacity is not worth it. Your opinion? I don't know what 319 is equivalent to. It's 210 US. But I got one, you know what I mean? So I think that it's at 210 US. It's a very compelling purchase. I don't like that watt hour capacity. I'm not a fan of that. 199. I feel like at 210 they kind of got them things out of the door, but 199 they be sold out of those dips all the time. EB120, EB70S. I don't know that I would. What's up, Beats? I don't know that I would compare those. I have the EB120 and I have the EB70. I think the EB70S is just the EB70. I'm with brighter buttons and stuff like that. That's my opinion, my uninformed opinion. I don't own the EB70S, but I always stick to this idea that my EB70, whenever I tested on it, it hit 800 watts and then it turned off. And now they're talking about the EB70S has an 800 watt inverter. And I'm like, well, my experience is that the EB70 has a 800 watt inverter. And I've seen multiple comments talking about at 801 watts, that dip turns off because they talk about it has 800 and then 1400 surge. I have never seen anything over 800 watts ever from that device. It hit 800, it's done. But the EB120, I think that dip is like $699 now, or something like that. It's compelling. It's a much better device in every way that matters as it relates to electricity. Now, features, the EB70 is a better device, but you can get 500 watt hours into that EB120. The voltage limit is higher. You can get up to 65 volts. I think they say it's 60 volts, but I think it's a little higher. Maybe it's 65, but it's really 68. The inverter is better. I mean, I think it's a very real consideration, but it doesn't have LiFePO in it, but it has those like automotive grade pouch cells or whatever that last, I think, 1,000 cycles according to Hobotech. So it has longevity as well. Not the same longevity, but longevity nonetheless. More watt hours. It's like, yeah, it's a good look. That's kind of why I got one. I bought a 60 amp MPPT charge controller and a 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter. I need more panels. I almost wonder if you should have got a 3000 watt sine wave inverter, especially because you have so much power. It's like we think about these things in terms of how much can it run, but then you have to think about how much can it run at one time. It's like we are as we grow and mature in our power station and our solar connections and our systems, we have to start looking at the full picture. But that's not to say you can't incremental. That's part of the beauty of building your own system, because you could have that 2000 watt, you could have the 3000 watt, swap it out real quick, done, boom. But you run your microwave and then your fridge tries to turn on and use some power, your AC fridge, and they might trip each other. Whereas like 3000 will probably be a little bit more. I'm thinking about buying an inverter soon-ish when coins align, but I think 2000 would be all right for me because I'll be a single use kind of thing. If it's for one thing, it's going to be for one thing. And then I have multiple batteries. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of interesting to get into this whole process. Val asked me how I charge my batteries on an Instagram post. So since you're around, we'll just go ahead and talk about that now. I talked about grabbing this. This is the Expert Power 20 amp battery charger. It has these beastie battery clamps on it. I guess they're beastie in my mind, because what I came from was these little joints right here. Which ones are they? These. I came from these dips, and they just came with a solar panel. Battery clamps for, I guess, topping off a battery or whatever. I actually kind of I didn't make it, I put it together. 12 volt adapter to 5521. This is common to come with like the Tenergy and the Go Labs. And then this is a 5521 to battery clamp that came with my Flex Power panel. I have since upgraded from that. I purchased a lot of little knickknacks and stuff like that. I think Val, you may have mentioned that you had this one, the Noco. Uh, this is a clamps to a 12-volt adapter. So this is interesting because, and I got the wrong size. I didn't know what the size the things were, but if you see in there, change my focus. You see that? I bought this because you have the ability to take this off and put these directly on batteries. Unfortunately, these do not fit my battery. They're too small. So at the end of the day, I just have a battery clamp to 12 volt, which is good because I have more than one battery. I can move this from one battery to the other. I've been debating on like, do I want to go ring terminal, which has a sense of permanence, or a battery clamp, which has a sense of like temporary. We're having multiple batteries. I like the battery clamp, but I also like the permanence of the ring terminal. So I may end up having like a ring terminal to 12 volt outlet on both batteries, and then I bought this, so I'll always have it. And then I'll have something like this Expert Power, which I can charge both of my batteries, but because the clamps are removable. So I clamp on one charge, clamp on the other one charge. It's a good time. I said this one is 20 amps. So that's 12 volts times 20, which is whatever that is, 240 or something like that. But it's also made for LiFo, so it's not just flat at 12 volts. The voltage actually goes higher. So you end up seeing like 300 or something like that, whatever 14 times 20 is. Let's just go ahead and go down the list. I also bought the PowerWorks MPPT charge controller. You don't get more simple than this in terms of keeping solar simple. This little box can take MC4 connectors to your solar panel array and output it in this Anderson connector. Like, you don't get more easy than this. Now, this Anderson connector, finding something from Anderson to battery clamp has been a bit of a challenge because I'm still learning about Anderson, so don't quote me on any of this, but Anderson has three sizes. 3 power ratings, 15 amp, 30 amp, and 45 amp. And I don't know if they're interchangeable, but something I also bought because it was on sale. You've seen people like Will and maybe Hobotech and stuff like that have these little power meters. This one was $26 with Anderson connectors on the end for a little over $20. The devices themselves with no connectors on the end are about $20. And then once they put MC4 on here, we talked about this a long time ago, they want $60 for that. So they were selling this for $27. I was like, I don't know if I should get one because I don't know if I'm committed like you read about. But at the end of the day, I just decided to grab it and have it. I don't know I hope it's a trend in those things going downward. And then I could just get an MC4 one. But I brought that up to say that this is supposed to be a 15 amp connector. This is supposed to be a 20 amp connector, but they work. If I plug these in together, they'll fit. They'll snap in. I'm not going to do it at the moment. I guess I could, but I'm not. But they fit in. So I don't understand. So I may have a little more flexibility with getting Anderson to ring terminal. But again, the problem with getting the ring terminal with something like that is I'm going to want to charge both my batteries. So I want to get Anderson to clamp, much like this battery charger has clamps, because when I'm done with one, I could just put it right on the other. But I'm not able to really find a whole lot. I found one Anderson to battery clamp, but it was like 16 gauge and it had a 7.5 amp fuse on it. So I'm like, this thing right here can take up to, I believe, 50 volts. So that means you could put panels in series. If you have a 200-watt panel, that 200-watt panel puts out 10 amps. Let's just round up. It's like 9.7. Some of them can put out even more, 12 something. Some panels are like lower voltage, higher amps. So I couldn't use it with this. So I may have to settle for just buying 2 Anderson to ring terminal or Anderson to ring connector, and just have to use the Anderson to plug into them. But I don't want to have an Anderson. I don't want to have all these cables hanging off the battery. I'm okay with it, honestly, but I don't want to have it. If I could have something that's just clamped, I'd be good money with that. Does that make sense? Do we need to talk about that more? Because I know we are more so like into the power station. Some of y'all are into like off-grid systems that you make yourself and you DIY. We kind of all watch the same people for the most part. So it doesn't make sense. Y'all have a great weekend. You'll be listening. Thanks, MJ. Did you crimp those connectors onto the DC to DC convert? No, I didn't put them on at all. That's why I don't mess around with these things, because they come with the wires, and I don't do stuff like that. I haven't learned it yet. So this came with the connectors on it for $26, which is kind of almost unheard of. I haven't tested it yet, but let's see. Sounds like a nice charger. We'll look into it. Yeah, it's $99. It actually was 96 or something like that. And then around Prime Day, it was like 86. So I could have saved $8 or $6 if I waited a few days. And that wasn't worth kind of worrying about. But most of the other chargers are $100 for 10 amps of charging. So I went with the Expert Power. And Expert Power is pretty reputable. I mean, they have batteries in the whole nine. They've been around for a while. Let's see. I did get the EB3A no core. What do you recommend? And I would like a portable panel for the EcoFlow 2. I don't have any recommendations for cords. I mean, you just need 8mm at this point. MC4 to 8mm will get the job done. If you have any other Blue Eddy products, that cable will work with it. If you have a MC4 to 5521, you could use that, and you just get an adapter for it that goes 5521 to 8mm, and then you should be good. As far as solar cables, the same thing kind of applies with the 12-volt cable too. Prepping on the creek, what's happening? I know this is off topic, but is Nox influencer legit or a scam? I've never heard of that. And just say, dang, I have a great point at electric being cheap. Yeah, you can't beat the cost of it. It's going up, but compared to everything else, it doesn't seem like going the other way is the way to go. You only kind of go the other way if you have to. That's my understanding. Now, you may live in some, like we've been through some areas that are kind of like off the beaten path. It make me nervous sometimes, but that's just a caveat being, anyway. We've gone through some places and I haven't seen a lot of solar panels, and I was shocked, because as you get more into rural America, there's more of a self-reliance, Republican lean, let me take care of my own stuff, which tip my hat to them. But I wonder if gas is like just really cheap out there, so they don't have to worry about electric. Because I thought I would see a whole lot more solar panels, and I saw pretty much none. All right, I think I'm caught up for the most part. Please do. Only way I'm doing it, because just in case the power goes, I have gas. I gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. To Angady's point, I'm asking again, am I saying that right? I'll probably message you on Instagram if you don't answer. Cooking uses a lot of power, so that's a fair point. Going propane from electric, I understand that 100%. But all of my other stuff is still applicable as it relates to solar. But still, cooking on electric is not super expensive. But cooking on anything else other than electric, like cooking on solar or whatever, may get costly or use a lot of your power. But everything said that I haven't found any that I'm impressed with. They may get the job done, but I'm like, I look for them every now and then. Let's see. Did I catch that? Solar power stations are designed to be used regularly. Don't put them away for 6 months or a year. Get them out in at least every 3 months and cycle them, then store at 60% charge or whatever your manufacturer recommends. But yeah, that's good advice. Best Tech 300 watt works nicely in the car for my phone as I travel. Now, why would you use a Best Tech inverter in your car? That's interesting. To charge your phone. I'm assuming your phone, I mean, most electronics are DC anyway. So to go from DC car to AC on an inverter to charge a phone feels weird. I know we do it. I did it for years. You know what I mean? It's like, but that was before I understood the DC versus AC thing. That's kind of interesting. I look forward to your answer. What's up, Tim? Is the Blue Yeti EB3A worth it? I just don't like the battery capacity being 268. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the big problem with that capacity. Maybe you can break down on how you use it charging only through solar. Let's see. The big thing for the EB3A for me is going to be a pass through, not the UPS stuff, because I don't plan on charging it much from the wall. Or I don't know if it's worth it, but I could have a power station kind of behind it to give it power via AC and then have it UPS out to whatever it's powering. But that almost doesn't matter to me. Excuse me for a second. That almost doesn't matter to me because the UPS feature on AC is it's what it does is it allows you to bypass your batteries, but who cares about bypassing LiFePO batteries? I get it, but they already are going to last you 2,000 cycles. Even if you cycle them every day, that's like 5 years of use or whatever it comes out to being. So I don't really care about that. So that whole scenario that I just pitched is of less use to me, but it's still beneficial. I mean, it preserves the battery. You know, it is what it is. But it's mainly going to be a pass through to me to charge other power stations. I don't know. I have this dilemma in my entertainment zone in a living room where I want power to come in because the problem is I typically get about 130 watts from my 200 watt panel. I'm just gonna kind of like baseline it there. Sometimes it's a little more, but for the majority of the time, I'm getting about 130. So my TV over there uses about 40. My internet uses 20. 130 with 60 eating into it constantly. You're only getting 60 watts of power or so in your power station. And then if that sun goes away and you only have a 260 watt, 300 watt hour device, that's going to bang into that quickly. And you won't have but like 5 hours of power or something like that. And if it's not full, because I don't necessarily keep my power stations full. I'm not one of those 20 to 80 kind of guys on these power stations, but I use them so they're always kicking out power. Right now, what I have over there is the Jackery 300, and it's not LiFePO, but it's a good power dump. But the capacity is only 293 watt hours to be exact. I didn't like the watt hour capacity for the price. At $299, it's pretty much a ripoff. And I don't want to use such harsh words, but that's a bit much. I didn't even buy the EcoFlow, and this was like however long it was. I didn't buy that dip till it was like 280, and the EcoFlow was stacked with features for back then. This dip is stacked with features, but for now at 260 watt hours, 68, it just felt a little disrespectful. Dollar for dollar. But it's a super capable device, and it's the king of the hill right now. If it had a little more watt hour capacity, and it's pretty big comparatively. I guess all of those components in there are interesting. I look forward to like testing and kind of figuring out how it works and all that jazz. Some people are having issues with it, so that's interesting. Da, 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 da. I think it's worth it. At 210, it's definitely worth it. 199 would make me feel even better about my life. But 210 after tax is about 220, 223 or something like that. But it's a super capable device. I think at the end of the day, there's a power station that fits everyone's needs. It fits in everyday usage or once a month usage. There's a good one out there for everyone. I can get behind that. Yeah, EcoFlow's customer service is pretty good. I agree with that. I got one for you, buddy. Hybrid Power Solutions out of Canada, the most rugged, best power station I've ever seen. I personally don't own one because they're $6,000, but you ever hear of them? Never. Even if I did, I would not internalize any information at $6,000. I currently have them in series, but I'm wondering if I get better performance if I have 3 in series to connect in parallel. I don't follow that high. 12 gauge, don't run more than 20 feet. Okay, interesting. Just have the Noco 5 amp in the car. Okay, got it. Alligator clips with crimp. Alligator clips with crimp terminal built in. Interesting. EB230, EB240. Extra to my Blue Eddy AC200 Max battery, can I get a 2000-watt inverter that has an AC to use to charge the devices into at a standalone? Wow, that's a lot. With the EB230. Oh, the EB230 is the battery. Okay, I didn't follow that cat eyes. You're gonna have to give me that one more time. Okay, I answered that. Answered that. Saw your Rigid G Black video today. Check out tabletop easels to use as a stand. That's a good idea. They don't angle much, but they're good enough for me. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Um, Now, tabletop, are those smaller? I can see an easel working out, but you would get some flop on the top edges because an easel is typically triangular. But they also have the ones that have the bar across the back, so that could work as well. Interesting. That's a very good idea, B3. Hey, you made it. You see, if you watch it back, you'll see Dell gave me a hug for you. It was weird. We got a good chuckle out of it. Here's a simple question from a simple mind. How many bars should I drain my generator before I charge it up again? I only let it go 1 bar down. Should I do more? Does it matter? You have the EB70, right? I just had a long conversation with Setite trying to make sense of cycles. I don't know if I want to get into it here because I don't still fully grasp it, but I'll just say it like this. He used the word baby. If you, his channel is called Setite Tech Adventures. I talk with him a lot about this stuff. Super smart guy. Um, if you baby your power station, and what I mean by that is if you make it live between 20 and 80%, you'll get more, let's just say for simplicity, it's better for the battery. But when they tell you how many cycles they expect you to get, they're telling you based on you going from 0 to 100. Uh, however often you go 0 to 100. I power cycle my stuff daily. I don't necessarily use them all the way down daily, but that's kind of what it equates to. So when you use the full watt hour capacity, that's a cycle. And if you don't use the full watt hour capacity and you stay in that middle, then that can kind of give you more uh, life on your battery, more lifespan. So to let it sit at the top 20%, the top 20% and the bottom 20% is the hardest on the battery. I'm not saying it's hard on the battery, but compared to that middle 60, it's the hardest. So to go from full to 80, from full to 80, from full to 80, it's harder to get power into that device um, up there. And then down at the bottom, I think there's more power pushed into it. So it's an interesting thing. So you don't want to kind of live there. But it's like, who cares? Do you care? 2,000 cycles last you however many years, even if you cycle it every day. It's LiFo. That's kind of why we like LiFo, because you can hammer on it and still get a good lifespan out of your device. Most people posit that the hardware around the device will break before these batteries inside them actually start to show their age. So it's like, so now you've been informed, but you act accordingly. If you want to use it on top level, then that's fine. It's not the best thing to do, but it's not awful. It's not terrible. You pretty much are breaking even with what the manufacturer promised you anyway. You know what I mean? Kind of, sort of, maybe, sort of, maybe. I hope that answers the question. Hey, Kimber Jack, good to see you. Which one were you talking about specifically just now? I don't know what just now means. I'm just reading it. Yeah, there's a lot of comments. Well, not a lot, but lithium batteries are happier at closer to 50%. It reduces charge cycles to keep them at 90 to 100%. Yeah, I'm still struggling with the idea of it reducing charge cycles. I don't know. I don't know that how true that is. And I literally mean I don't know. I don't mean I'm questioning it or anything. But how I'm starting to think about it is if you treat that battery as perfectly as you can, you get more life out of the battery. And how I can explain it is, it's like, you remember, a lot of you guys will relate to this, but going to school, you had shoes for school, and then you had shoes you played in. So your shoes, when you came home, well, at least when I came home and a lot of my friends, you took off your school shoes and you put on your play shoes. So it's kind of something like that. It's like, if you're using, then the shoe will last how long it's supposed to last. But if you're easier on the shoe, it will last longer. That's how I kind of understand it. There are many other examples you could use, like a car. You drive it hard, it won't last as long as it's intended to last. If you take it light, you take it easy, it'll last longer than you expected, or longer, whatever. But I'm still learning about the cycles, because I'm so confused by I'm trying to equate value to these cycles, and I'm struggling, but I'm getting there. Can anyone explain solar conversion efficiency to a layman? Yeah, it's essentially, the panels are only about 20% efficient. So they have all of this power coming in, and they're only able to take about 20% of that power and turn it into usable energy. If you actually had a panel that was like 100% efficient, it would be about the size of like 20% of the panel. You know what I mean? Which is amazing to think about the possibilities of that. And that's kind of, getting 100% efficiency out of anything is going to be pretty much impossible. Don't get me to start talking about engineering stuff. But that's what it means. You need a panel that's the size that it is, and all of those things put together, to be able to take all of that stuff to give you 100 watts. If it was, let's say, if it was like watt output per the size, if it was more efficient, you would probably get more like 800 watts out of it. Don't give me the math thing, but my bad. Oh, snap. Oh, true. So you don't really want to be here. It's just the chair you're going to sit in while you, let me get some water on that. I'll drink some water to that.
You're not working?
I keep this glass on my desk during most of the live, But every time I think about the fact that I may knock it over, I just put it on the floor. I don't always think that way, but sometimes I do. Okay. Solar gang. What's up, too? Good to see you. I might, let me scroll down and see if anybody added any, hey, Gardening with Eve. You're only using 60% of the battery, so you should technically almost double life. But is it worth it? A sleep art, that's where my brain goes, because you'll hear people say, I was just watching Hobotech's Dr. Prepare battery, and he was like, if you live in between the 20 to 80%, you could possibly go from 2,000 cycles to 4,000 cycles. And he was like, maybe 5, 6, 7. So what Set Tight was explaining to me, and it was a struggle for me to understand it. How I internalize it is every cycle, full cycle, from 100 to 0, there's a cost to that battery. It's a use. It's like a let's say it takes it down 1 point or something like that, because it's a finite thing. So how he explained it to me is that when you use power from the middle 20 to 80%, you only really damage or use the battery up in terms of its lifespan and longevity. You only do like 0.25 damage in that middle. But when you get down into that bottom 20%, you do half. You take a 0.5%. These are not technical terms. This is not how it equates to the actual battery, but it's just for the sake of me understanding it. And when you go into that top 20%, it's the same. So it's like 50. No. What was it? It's a quarter, and then whatever this is and whatever that is together. So you only do so much. You only have so much impact on it when you live in this space. But when you live in this top and bottom and you're using that battery, you have more. You take the battery, the impact of getting power and putting power into that battery at those two levels impacts the battery more than the middle 60%. I'm still on a journey to understand this, because I'm trying to equate value to that, because a cycle is a cycle as I understand it. 1,000 watts is 1,000 watts against a battery. And this is in the context of like these big batteries, these batteries that don't have components around them using power. It's 1,200 watts. You use 1,200 watts, whether you do it, 100 to 80 multiple times until you hit 1,200. That's 1,200 watts. It's been cycled. But when you pull that power from that middle, it has less of an impact on the battery. I'm still working on it, guys. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out. See you later. Hey, Diva, what's happening? Good to see you. Huh? I'll be wrapping up soon. Do you need to do something? Okay, you can go ahead and relax. You just can't do the marker. Loving that analogy. Worked great for my brain. So another important piece is that the companies, when they tell you it'll have, I can't say this for every company, but let's just take Dr. Prepare. Dr. Prepare rates their batteries at, they actually rate them at 1,000, but let's just say for example's sake, it's 2,000 cycles. That's from 0 to 100. You're using it like that. If you only use the middle portion, maybe you'll get 8,000 cycles if this idea of this portion being less taxing on the battery is true. So I don't fully understand it, but I'm still trying to understand it. One more thing I wanted to talk about that I'm kind of on this path to discover. I'm not saying that I understand it totally. I'm not even saying you should move based on what I understand. But I want to show you something. I was looking at buying some wires recently, and I came across one of these cables from HQST that has something really helpful on it that just made it like super straight up, easy, plain, all that jazz. So let's share this screen real quick. We'll do the whole screen for now. Hopefully I don't live to regret that. And then we'll do that. So look at this, guys. And the reason why this is important is because I had been future proofing myself and buying 10 gauge wire every time I bought 10 gauge wire. What I have since discovered is that 10 gauge wire is a little annoying to manage. It's necessary. My 50-foot cable, 10 gauge. I have two of those. They're both 10 gauge. But for these little, like my Renogy white flat panel, it had my original 10 gauge 10-foot extension cable on it. And I just recently bought a 10-foot, I actually bought a 20-foot. We'll get into that in a second. I bought a 20-foot 12 gauge, and that cable is super like more pliable than my 10 gauge. But if you look at this, and I'm going to focus this on shorter cables. I don't know the impacts. Adele, what you singing about, mama? Did my talking interrupt you? I feel like you messed up my flow, daddy. I was trying to work it out. So I want to focus this on shorter cables because I don't know the impact of longer cables. But look at this. You think about this realistically. A 100 watt Renogy panel, HQST panel, new power panel is typically 5 amps. So look at this. The max current here is 20 amps, right? You put a panel in parallel with another panel, the most I would go is about 3 on the 5 amps, because I've been told by Armand Allen and Will Prowse that once you get past 3, you need to start putting fuses on cables per the direction of the panel itself. But even if you take two 200 watt panels that are 10 amps a piece and you put them in parallel, you could put a 12 gauge cable on there. I wouldn't, because you see it says max current. I would still go 10 gauge to put 2 panels in parallel that have 10 amps. But for you're like, I just have a single Renogy, a single HQST. I can put like a 14 gauge. Well, I would say 12 gauge is the highest I would go, because 14 gauge is probably going to be about 15 amps, maybe. So I bought some 12 gauge cables, 12 gauge 10-foot for my smaller panels that I more so move and shake more, because I don't need 10 gauge. And I'll show you guys, if I don't have a video coming out soon, I'll record one. I'll kind of show you the difference between managing a 10-foot 10 gauge cable versus managing a 10-foot 12 gauge cable. It's a significant ease with that 12 gauge cable. All right, we'll stop there. Yeah, 10 gauge is hard to bend. Thanks, Asleep Art, for that coin, man. I appreciate the super chats when you guys decide to say thanks for coins. Let's see. Was there a question along with your super chat? Did I miss it? No, it's just a sticker. All right, thank you, sir or ma'am. Let's see what Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual is saying. You're spot on with those facts. My latest to keep in the zone is the DC to DC converter, as it's like a charge controller, but different as the extra power is forced into the battery, reducing it cut you off, or you cut you off. Okay. It's low, therefore saving power, protecting the appliances. I can't jive. That's a lot you're giving me right there. I'll have to deal with that on the replay. All cells need to have balanced voltage. Let's see. My comment was before the sticker. Okay, let me go up. Sticker. Okay, what's up, Matt? B3, what's happening? If you only use middle part of the battery, don't you think it would lower voltage to that range? Then it may cause a short later. Lithium iron phosphate, the voltage, I don't know if I follow. The voltage is kind of flat anyway. I see it as a battery bank. When one or two cells fail, it ruins the entire string. Yeah, I don't know if it works in terms of like you're using the middle cells. Because the cells are wired in a way that you draw, they balance. I'm assuming, I'm deducing, I should say, based on what I've learned from watching like Will and other channels. They kind of want to draw them all together, which is why when you put a battery in series or parallel, you have to balance them to make sure that they're equal, because when they become one unequal, one impacts the other. So I imagine that all of those cells that are in that doctor prepare battery, even when you're using the middle 20 to 60%, it's taking 20 to 60 from the whole pack. Hopefully that makes sense. I say use the entire capacity. Power stations don't go down to 0% anyways. That's true. Their BMS or whatever is in them stops them from using the top 10%, maybe the bottom 10%. Jason Noy mentioned that on his live he did recently. Yeah, and that's kind of what they do. They don't allow you to get the batteries to 0. Mama, get down. Get down. Thank you. Stand up. Thank you. I left you a message above in the chat. I wonder if YouTube blocked it. Let me see. Hold on. This may mess up my whole thing. Any more questions? Because I got to get up out of here. I told my wife 60 minutes, and I'm 22 minutes over. One thing I just threw out my Renogy crack panel, that fell on me some time ago. Get down. I threw it out and I forgot to pull the MC4 connectors off of there. I could have absolutely cut those wires and kept those wires. I feel like, shoot, that sucks. That hurt a little bit, but it's okay. I should have cut them off when I decided I was going to throw it away, but I did not. Your battery bank is only as strong as your weakest link in your battery bank. I'll try another way to explain the benefits from a DC to DC converter. $39, by the way. Good to be dedicated. Talk to you later. Best wishes. Thank you. Let me see. Let's enter here real quick and look at these chats. Maybe I missed something. Where did you send it, Cat Eyes? Because I don't see it. I talked about Boujardi, EcoFlow, the things I ordered. Boom. I did have this, but this little thing stopped working on me. See that? The spring is something, and I ain't gonna mess around with it. I wish I could kind of reach out to them to get my money back, but that sucks. All right, I do want you guys to know that I am available to chat and answer questions and stuff like that. I'm on Telegram, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me under Ask God Solar. You can also email me at solarquestions@askgod.com. I also encourage you to follow me on Instagram. You don't have to follow me. Just go check it out from time to time. The same for Patreon. I have both free and paid posts that I make for people who support me monthly. I appreciate those people greatly. But I do make posts that are available to the public on Patreon as well. Some videos, some walkthroughs, some casual stuff. I actually just shot a video for that Yvette asked me for, which is how I run my cables into my house. So I just kind of got outside and I showed how I run my cables. That will go directly onto Patreon. Take it apart, fix it. Yep, not me. I always get 10 gauge. I'm going to a 12 gauge now. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. 12 gauge is so much better to handle, man. It's a dream, actually. I gotta research Anderson power pole connectors because I do want to use this. If I didn't talk about how I intend to use it, is it has a certain volt range. It's like 20 to 50, but Jason Oy has a video on it, and it actually goes from about 17.1, which kind of means unless my panel puts out 17 volts, I can't use this on a single panel. I need to test that. But most of my panel things downstairs where I will want to be able to power dump into here are in series anyway. So they're like 40 volt arrays. So this will work fine. But once that power station is full, let's say like the Ace Volt, if it gets full, I can take that MC4 to Anderson connection out of the device, plug that MC4 directly into here, and then take this Anderson and plug it into whatever I use to connect from Anderson to my battery. That's what I have to figure out now. And I think I'm going to do an Anderson to ring terminal because I have to, which means I'll have to buy two unless I can find a Anderson to battery clamp that can support how many amps can come out of here, which is about 24. But the panels themselves put out a certain amount of amps. So that's that. All right, good people. I'll be here in the chat for a little bit, but I'm out of here. I'm sorry, babe. I apologize to you on wax. She just most deaf waved me like that. Like, forget you. All right, y'all be beautiful.